Right now I'm in the safe place I found, effectively my bedroom.
They've sanctioned me for 3 months, basically. The last payment I got was the 22nd of October, and I won't get paid again until the 13th of January.
This year we've had a 23% increase in people using our service.
The statistics probably speak for themselves. You know, LEAP have got really sort of very good outcomes in terms of getting people back into work, getting people back into education and training, but also addressing their accommodation needs as well.
This year, LEAP's existing funding with the Big Lottery project comes to an end. The work undertaken, thanks to the grant, has exceeded the target set out in the initial Reaching Communities grant bid from 2011, showing that there is a real need for the service in Norwich. Thanks to that funding and support from Norwich City Council and the St Martin's Housing Trust, in the last 2 years, the LEAP project has supported 189 homeless people into learning, 49 people into employment, and moved 34 people from hostels to independent accommodation. Meet Greg. Greg was previously working as a director of a graphic design company and was living in a flat with his wife. Due to various circumstances in Greg's life, he lost his job, separated from his wife, and became homeless, living in the streets.
Right now I'm in the safe place I found, effectively my bedroom, where I came because in the last place I got kicked and urinated on, and so I came to a graveyard, which was much safer, which sounds odd. One of the major problems is that all kinds of doors just get shut in your face. You just end up being rejected time after time after time after time. You're rejected by the council for a flat. You're rejected by employers when you go for an interview because you're dirty, you're smelly. And the world keeps telling you you're worthless to the point where you actually start to believe it. And then LEAP arrived. And they've been absolutely brilliant. They restore your sense of worth, that you are actually someone worth investing time in.
Clients present with a range of issues, but predominantly with low self-esteem, low aspirations, and their attitude about taking responsibility is often very bad. We offer a multi-layered approach to addressing those issues. It's really important that you deal with each one, because if you didn't deal with each issue, then in the future when you're trying to get the outcome of employment or moving into accommodation, those issues that you don't deal with will cause a problem for you. We also offer a 2-day course called Goals, which has been very successful in the project. Goals is a motivational 2-day program, particularly looking at those areas that I discussed around low self-esteem, taking responsibility, looking at blame, looking at aspirations and setting goals for the future.
So, Mr. Low Self-Esteem is now Mr. High Self-Esteem, which is a pretty good feeling. We've all just done an exercise where we've all written down the strengths we've seen in other people in the group, and the results are very interesting. This is very empowering, and that's a good feeling. To feel in control is very, very important. I now know when I go to my next job interview, I shall be walking taller.
The goals course helps to make you think more of the good things and to give yourself a pat on the back for the good things in life, and that also showed me that that some of the bad things that I used to worry about were actually not worth worrying about anyway. So now I just sort of like, yeah, I'll do this, get this done, instead of worrying about it. The goals of my goals course was one, to paint my flat, like finish painting my flat. The second one was to get a job by next year, September. And the third one was, if I can get a job, then to get a car after maybe the year after. So that was all magnolia before, and I just I painted this back wall first with the nice sunset picture, and then I just like finished it off in the yellow, and I liked it because it's not too bright and in your face. Nice and calming.
And I think for a long time we know that putting a roof over someone's head isn't actually the end of their problems. In many ways it can be the beginning of their problems, because once they're into accommodation, it's about how they spend their time and meaningful use of time, and also how they move forward, you know, from living independently to actually living a normal life like everyone else. Have a job, have a home, have interests, have hobbies, have a social network. All of those things are key things, really.
Well, we're unique as a service because we not only put employment, meaningful activity and attitude changing at the heart of our service, but we put independent accommodation as a key to change. Independent accommodation enables the individual to move on and get into employment, to have a much more stable life. When we initially start working with the individual in our hostel or they're in supported accommodation, when they move into temporary accommodation or living in temporary accommodation, often their life can be quite disruptive, and it's very difficult for them to set targets or set goals. So moving them into independent accommodation really helps us go to the next stage of their development.
Brilliant. To be honest with you, I just couldn't think of a word there, but brilliant. With independent living, you know that it's up to you. You can do what you like, you can go to bed when you like, but it's also, the bad side of it is you're in charge of every bill that comes through that door. With the YM, you had to pay for your rent and that was it. You get fed there, your electric is done for you, you know, you've got hot water all the time. You know, you can be up all hours of the night. When you're at home, you've got to watch what electric you use, how much you use, and turn everything off after you use. You've got to pay for your food. So it is very, very independent when you're living at home than it is a YM. You can't rely on someone to cook your dinner for you, you know, you've got to do it yourself. It's better, it really has been better, because it kind of gives you the, I'm in my own house now, all I need is a job, and I'll be perfect. And also, with the YM, if you put the YM on your CV, or you put the YM as an address on your CV, people look at it, nah, I ain't going to take them in. They're kids, I'm not taking them in, they live in a hostel. Well, that's discrimination as well. With your own house, you can put an address down and they don't know no different.
When I first left prison, after quite a lengthy sentence, it was a rent relief to at last be free, but I was very unsure and a little daunted, thinking about what the future held, and also exactly what help there would be out there for me. I was nevertheless determined to keep looking forward and moving forward. I decided the main things I needed to concentrate on were employment and accommodation. These are really, for everybody, the two cornerstones of building a future. Well, for me, independent living not only it really encompasses living independently, having my own flat, but it also meant that there was always things I had to get used to after having been serving such a long time in prison. Was things like, for instance, couldn't remember what it was like to go into a supermarket, and just the thought of being able to walk around, see all those shelves and shelves of food, and just be able to pick up what I wanted, get to the end. As long as I paid for it, I could take it home there and then. That sort of thing took a bit of getting used to, but you didn't get that sort of thing until you were actually independent living and shopping for yourself. So that was very important to me. Having to deal with utilities like gas and electricity supplies and water rates, etc. was also daunting at first. But again, my advisor at Leap helped me all the way with things like budget planning and money management, and that took a lot of pressure off.
85% of Leap clients are ex-offenders. That wasn't actually something that we set out to achieve, but the consequences of homelessness or working with vulnerable people mean that a lot of the individuals hold offences. We now offer specialist disclosure services for the offenders, working with employers. We've been successful in gaining 2 new big partners onto the project last year, offering real work placements and real work opportunities for ex-offenders.
They've sanctioned me for 3 months, basically. The last payment I got was the 22nd of October, and I won't get paid again until the 13th of January. And what was going through my head is how am I going to pay for these bills? How am I going to cope? How am I going to get food in? Gas, electric, phone that I need, how am I going to pay for this? And it was a worry, and it was oh my God, all the hopelessness. What am I going to do?
Where are you living now?
At a friend's house. I have to, because at the end of the day I can't live at mine because there's no electric. I can't afford food, I can't afford electric, I can't afford the bills that I'm meant to be paying because I have no money.
Yeah, I understand that long-term unemployed need to get back into work, but the sanctions that have come into place, I feel, are moving some of the vulnerable clients or vulnerable people further back in society.
The reason why I was sanctioned is because I missed an appointment with a work programme. Unfortunately, that fell on the day that my uncle passed away, and that was his funeral. So they sent me a letter to say, please write good reason. So I wrote them a letter saying, that's my uncle's funeral, I'm sorry that I didn't inform you, you were the last person on my mind. I was a bit upset about it, it would come to a shock. And I got a written letter back to say that wasn't a good enough reason. And then apparently I got another letter through the post saying I missed another one. I never received that letter.
Well, in some cases we've seen clients being sanctioned and they've been in training or in a work placement or even in employment, and it leads to them not being able to afford to get the bus or get the train or put petrol in their car to get to their job. So in the long run it could mean that the employment outcome or the employment achieved for the individual is lost. In some cases we've been working with individuals for more than a year. What a sanction can do is it can move them back. All the work that we've done on the training that we've offered, it can take that away. So we're back to square one again.
When you feel unloved, it doesn't mean you're not lovable. If you feel like a failure, it doesn't mean you're not going to be a winner again. Those are the things that Leap gets across to you. But they do it by mining your own resources.
If I didn't have Leap, I think I'll probably still be in a hostel or shared house.
If Lee weren't here, I'll still be under the way I am now.
I think if we didn't have Leap, we would really struggle to help the people that need the most help. And I think, homelessness is on the increase. People are struggling with welfare benefit changes. The most vulnerable people in our communities are actually, suffering the most at the moment. And I think these are the people that Leap will help and has been helping over the last years. And I think, if anything, we need Leap more than we did before.